Hello, everybody. How we doing?
Great.
Good.
Just fine. Thank you for asking.
Good. So, Claudia,
Yes.
you asked about using mineral spirits.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, and you got my email back, which basically, the only thing about mineral spirits is that the odor.
Okay.
And if you're working, in like a really closed space, you really need ventilation while you're working with it. Okay.
Okay. Well, I sent someone to get some Tylenol, and they couldn't find it before they went. So I was trying to just have something till I can get the other.
Right.
So I can get the Tylenol.
Yeah. Yeah, and it will work. You just need to be a little bit cautious with it because of the fumes. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'll only use a little bit. I just need to thin my paint sometimes,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, and it'll do that just fine. It will also clean your brushes really well, but yeah, it's just a little more smelly.
Okay. Thank you. I can. Yeah. To clean the brushes, I can do that in the garage or something,
Yeah. Yeah, or outside, or
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you got that beautiful area out there by the pool. You could sit there and clean your brushes out in the sunshine.
Well, it's raining now.
Oh, is it? Yeah, it just rained here just for a second. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, work on your vitamin D out there.
Okay.
Anyway, let's get started because there's a few things I wanted to share with you guys. What I was saying before we abruptly went away, which seems to be the case with these Zoom meetings, is okay. Let's see. All right.
What happened?
There we go. Okay. What I have here is I've got a list basically of sites that you can go to, if you wanted to practice drawing the human figure. Okay. Now, I'm going to try to share, a couple of these web pages with you. Now, I've tried a few of them out. Right now, I'm playing around with the one. It's called New Masters Academy, and you can find that on YouTube. And what it is, they have these video classes. They last, I think they last about 30 minutes is the whole duration of these. And so basically you'll open this up, you'll start a video, you've got your sketch pad there, and it starts off with shorter poses, and it gives you about 1 minute poses, and it will take you through about 6 or 8 of those, and then it will move to a 5 minute, and then a 10 minute, and then like a 20 minute pose. And they have these that are clothed, but they also have them that are nude, in case you want to work on anatomy, things like that. Now, there's things I like about, that site. Generally, they've got a pretty good collection of poses. They don't have like a huge variety. I think they've got maybe 15 or 20 class sessions that you can go to and play. But it's good practice. And what it does, if you just play the video and you don't pause it, is it forces you to draw quickly and to work within, particularly those 1 minute poses. All you can really begin to get down is just a sense of how the model is moving. You don't have any time to get any details. So it's really very much so like a live drawing class. And yes.
Excuse me, Charles. Is it kind of like when you used to do those figures and you would have the lady do the pose?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Every 2 minutes should be changed. Okay.
Yeah, just like at Benson, we would do the 2-minute gesture poses, and we go.
Yes.
So it's basically the same thing.
Okay.
Except that you're not, live in front of a model. Okay. But and I'm not sure about them. Like I said, I've only looked at like one of their sessions, but they have a variety of models within that session. So it's not always the same model all the way through. So you might end up with a couple of sessions or a couple of poses that are a female, then a male, and then back to a female, you know, so it will vary back and forth. Now, again, you know, that's pretty easy. You know, you just go to YouTube, look up New Masters Academy, and again, you know, those classes will come up on your search. But they also have like demonstrations as well, you know, so you can actually sit back and you can watch an instructor draw, and, you know, they'll talk about different aspects of the drawing that they're dealing with. And you can pick up, you know, a lot of good information from them as well, okay? Now, the one that I think I've found so far that I really like is this Crocus Cafe, spelled Croquis, and then Cafe. And it used to be on YouTube, but they've taken them off of YouTube, mainly because of the issue that they do more like live figure type stuff, and they have a much more extensive collection of poses than, say, like New Masters Academy. And you can find all kinds of models, male, female. Again, you can find them clothed, you can find them nude, you know, whatever you want to draw, you know, you can pretty much so find on there. You can also find reference material on animals, you know, and animals and motion, right? So, you know, again, you know, that's a good resource to check out. Now, again, you can't find them on YouTube anymore, but if you just do a Google search, they have a website. It'll take you directly to the site, and you can, you know, go through their archive and look, you know, at the reference that they have, and draw from there. Now, you know, it doesn't cost anything, you know, for any of these, okay? They're free. Now, Crocus will ask you to make a donation, like a $3 donation, you know, for the use of the site. But the nice thing about Crocus is that you can download images. Okay. I don't know. I got some stuff going on here on my computer. I don't know what it is. At any rate, you can download images so that you can just, you know, open them up on your screen, and you can take all the time you want to draw them. They also have like video sessions, much like New Masters Academy. Does basically the same thing. You know, again, it's a timed series of drawings. The difference being that with Crocus, if you start off with a particular model, it's that same model taking different poses all the way through. So you do get a good sense of trying to capture that individual's particular proportions. So it's really more like a live drawing class in that sense, where New Masters, again, they vary models and things on you. So it's good practice, but, you know, if you're trying to work on capturing somebody's movement and likeness, it's nice to work with one model. Now, there's some other sites down here. There's Sketch Daily, Quick Pose. I have not checked those out yet. And then I've heard one talked about quite a bit, and this seems to be a lot of people's favorite, and it's called Proko, Proko. And again, I haven't really checked that out yet, but I'm going to do it in the next day or two, and you know, do some drawing and see what I think of it. Another site is Line of Action, and again, you know, I think Line of Action is kind of geared more for like people who are doing animation or illustration. and they have a lot of characters and in different poses, things like that. And when I say characters, I'm like animated characters, but they're 3D computer generated, so they sort of look real. But again, I think it's more for action poses and things like that. So it's more for like, cartoonists and professionals who are looking for, movement and gesture a lot. And so any of those sites, again, I would recommend that you go and explore and just check them out, see what you think. Maybe figure drawing's not your thing, and maybe you don't want to draw the human form. A couple of them, like I said, Crocus, and I think Sketch Daily and Proko have reference on animals as well. So you can find either, okay? Other than that, let's see, go back to the share. I wanted to talk about, well, let's see what people sent in. Yeah, because a couple of people did send back some things. Now this, I wanted to start with this piece. Bernice Washington, and she's here, I see her there. She sent in this drawing during the week. And
no, Charles, that's from me. That's from Wanda.
Oh, that is it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. I had it mislabeled. Okay. So, all right. So you're working on trying to turn form, yeah, and kind of create this illusion of, being three-dimensional. And you got your fingers in there, I see.
Sorta.
Okay. Well, that's good. That puts it in kind of a situation where it's almost like a still life. Again, we talked a little bit about, push your values a little bit. I know you think that the egg is white, but if you light it, if it has like light from one side or another, you're going to find some fairly dark shadows, even though it's a quote unquote white surface. Okay. And there's going to be a lot of contrast between what's in shadow and what's in light. So and with the cast shadow that you've indicated here, which seem to be kind of dark, you would expect to find a darker range of value on the egg itself.
Okay.
If the light was kind of diffused and flat, then you might see a cast shadow, but it would be, again, not as dark. Okay. The stronger the light is, the stronger the contrast is going to be. The more diffused the light is, the less the contrast is going to be.
I see. Okay.
All right. And then Betty, we saw this a little bit earlier today, and she went back in and she just, kind of softened that down. And if you take a look at that drawing now, see, it has a different feeling. It doesn't look flat across that surface anymore. Just that little touch of just softening that back, just that little tiny bit, made quite a bit of difference in making that face really kind of move around the form, right? So little things like that, and a lot of times, you'll draw something and you need to get away from it. You need to just kind of get away from it for 20 or 30 minutes, come back to it, look at it, and try to analyze it and figure out, okay, what's working, what's not working? Does it really look like it's got shape and form to it, or does it look flat? And if it looks flat, why? What have I done there to make, that image, look, flat and two-dimensional? And it's usually something really, really simple, like, a line is too heavy or too dark or too strong, or you haven't arranged your values so that they feel like they're really moving around the form. Could be any number of reasons. But that process of taking the time to really, do the drawing, get away from it, come back to it, and I'm not saying jump in and, you know, change everything, but just look at it and kind of figure out what's really going on there. You know, how do I make it better? You know, and then, you know, put it away for a while, come back, look at it tomorrow, you know, and see what you think about it. Keep going back and, you know, going through the process of trying to reevaluate, you know, what you're seeing, and you'll learn a lot just in that process of, you know, one, how not to do those things and make it work, you know, the first time, and or how to go back and modify it, correct it, so that you can get it to do what you want it to do, okay? Now I'm going to talk about John. I hope he's here. John was doing...
That's not mine.
It's my, I sent it. I got this morning.
Oh, I'm sorry. Boy, I've got everybody's name messed up today, don't I? All right.
Don't worry.
Okay.
I just got this email this morning
Uh-huh.
with an 83 years old lady
Uh-huh.
that poses in very famous pictures.
Right.
So since you talked today with the lady with the earring,
Mm-hmm.
I sent you this picture, but I have a bunch of pictures that she poses with very famous arts like this one.
Okay, so she takes different poses from different artists.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, yeah. And I mean, you know, this would be a great, you know, kind of fun reference. You know, you see the Vermeer over on the left, and then now you've got a whole nother interpretation of it. And
Yeah.
you can, if you want, you can age her, you know. But that was kind of fun.
Yeah, that's why I sent it to you.
All right. Well, you know, you might try something like that. That might be good. All right.
I wish I could.
You can, you know, try.
I am going to try.
Yeah, what's the worst that's going to happen? Okay. So anyway, so this is the blue version of Vermeer that John was talking about, and he sent that to me. And again, John, are you there?
Yes, uh-huh.
Okay, yeah. You know, okay, you know, doing it monochromatically like that, it's same as doing it with a pencil or any kind of single media, because it all falls down into value, right?
Correct.
But it also, think about how hard or soft some of those areas are. And your brushwork out here
Yes.
is fine. You know, I mean, you can keep it, you know, really textural and moving and gestural. But when you got to the face, see, I would take the time to go back in and, again, soften those. You know, that's one of the things, you know, in controlling watercolor is how do you make things hard? How do you make things soft?
Right.
And do a little more work with that, you know, and try to, like when I got to the face here, you know, I would have tried to keep all those transitions much softer, and that would have made that face pop out,
Right.
you know, and come forward. Okay.
Well, that was just sort of having fun, and I just whipped that one out in probably 15 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. And, you know, I mean, you could have done her in any color you wanted to, you know.
Yes.
And, you know, a lot of times, you know, when I'm doing portrait and figure classes, you know, one of the things I keep telling people is that it's all about value. It's not about color. You know, color can be anything. And if you talk to a lot of really good portrait painters, and, you know, one of the common questions in a class is, you know, how do I make a flesh tone, right? How do I mix a color of skin?
Right.
Well, think about it. Skin is not one color. Skin is all kinds of colors. And I'm not talking about from individual to individual. I'm talking about just on one person. If you look at their face, there's different colors in different areas. But the key thing is find the value structure. You can make the colors anything you want. You've got to keep those values intact if you want to make it look, you know, like it's three-dimensional and round and it's got weight and form, okay? So I'm going to show you an example of a guy right now. Let's see. Okay. And who I want to show you is this gentleman right here. And his name was Henry Renault. And Renault was part of the Impressionist movement. And unfortunately, he was a very young man, and like Albert Sisley, he got caught up in the Franco-Prussian War and was unfortunately killed. And I think he was like about 33, 34 years old. He wasn't very old. And this is one of his very last paintings that he did, and it was on exhibit. He had come from an academic background, and so he was an academic painter, and he was part of the Salon. But he hung out a lot with the Impressionists. And if you begin to look, you know, at this painting, and you begin to look at just how she's seated and the movement, you know, how the head is tipped, you know, nothing is straight up and down. The figure doesn't look stiff, it looks fluid, right? It looks like she could actually almost come off that page, you know, like she's living and breathing. And, you know, this is a lovely example, you know, of the human figure. And you look at the movement down through her figure and how it's like her back, you know, arches to the hips, the legs move forward and then down and then kind of cross. And it makes a nice kind of triangular shape here. There's a beautiful kind of triangular shape in the arm, right? Even the head kind of with the hair, again, makes this sort of triangular shape. And if you simplify this composition down to just simple geometric shapes, you know, he's got a lovely kind of balance of what we would call active areas of the painting and then what they call passive areas of the painting. And the passive areas are sort of the background area. And then the active areas are really the figure and the carpet, you know, in here. And if you look at it again, you know, it's broken up into these big, huge triangles, you know. Even this is kind of an elongated triangle. And, you know, a lot of artists use those triangular, you know, compositions where you can break everything down into triangles because they just inherently, they sort of suggest movement, where if you tried to break it up into rectangular blocks, four-sided objects, it begins to make things static. Okay. So, you know, when you're kind of composing your paintings or your drawings, really look at how you use the space. You know, how much space is active, how much space is, you know, passive. And you'll come up with better compositions and designs, you know, for your work, okay? But he was a really fascinating artist. You know, did a wide variety of different types of figurative art, portraiture, did a fair amount of landscape as well. And again, you know, I would probably go back and look him up as an artist and really kind of go through and see what he did. There's another artist that was very similar to him, and his name was Bouguereau, and I'll try to collect some of his work for next week so that we can kind of look at them and compare them. But they were very, very similar, and they sort of took the same sort of approach. And one of the things, and this is a biblical story, the painting is named Salome, and I don't know how many of you, you know, are familiar with that story, but she was King Herod's daughter. And so she you know, she evidently has been dancing around, and she's got the sword or whatever that she wants John the Baptist's head cut off with, and the big tray, you know, because her one desire was to have John the Baptist's head in that tray. That's what, you know, that's what she wanted for the day, you know, the spoiled child that she was.
How do you spell his last name, the artist?
Regnault. Okay, and it's Henry, Henri, Henry Renault. Okay.
On the thing at the top of the picture, it has it spelled without an L.
Oh, okay, yeah. All right, yeah. Regnaut.
Just UT. Okay, I thought I was looking at that wrong. Okay.
All right. Yeah, you know, we're trying to spell a French name, right? Uh-huh.
Oui.
Oui, yeah. All right. Anyway, so that was Renault. And all right, let me see. How are we doing time-wise? So we've got 14 people here too. I'm looking.
You have 5 minutes.
Do we have about 5 minutes? Okay.
No, you have 26 minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, good. We got plenty of time then. Gee, we're actually ahead of schedule for a change. That almost never happens. Okay. So I've got a new way to keep you guys occupied and tease your mind a little bit. And I'm going to show it to you right now. Guess who this is?
Degas.
That's right. It's Edward Degas. And this over on the left is his pastel.
Mitzi.
Right. And over on the right is, what's your last name?
Oakland, I think.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, she's a prima ballerina. And anyway, she took it, you know, she kind of took an assignment to basically recreate a lot of these Degas paintings, you know, of the ballerinas. And I know she's in New York, you know, and I'm not exactly sure what ballet company she's with, but, you know, she used other people, you know, other ballerinas and things to pose with her in these. And they've done a really, really good job at recreating those paintings, you know, from the angle, the lighting, not quite as dramatic, okay? But, you know, for the most part, you know, you've got some really good, solid photograph reference, you know, that you could go back in and reinterpret, you know, those paintings with. So this week, instead of doing a girl with a pearl earring, I'm going to throw this one at you, okay? So you got a couple of things to have to deal with here. The first thing is just look at the angle that you're looking at the model, okay? It's what we would call foreshortened, right? You're way up above her, you're looking down. So it's like, how are you gonna make that foot look like it's further away from you in your drawing, and that the hands and the body are closer, and that the head is even closer, right? How are you gonna bring that forward in your drawing? And then let the dress and everything else push back. And so I'm not going to tell you how you're going to do that yet, but we'll talk about it. But I want you to try, you know, to draw this. And it's like, get that sense of depth. You know, how do you get that foot, again, you know, to look further away than that hand or her head, okay? And I'll give you a little bit of a clue. It's about one shape overlapping the other, okay? So really, you know, look at that, study that carefully and try to draw it, okay? Now you can draw it either in line and not put a lot of shading and tone on it, or you could do it with tone. If I were going to do this with line, then what I would say to you is be very careful about the type of lines that you use and make them different. You know, lighter, darker, softer, harder. You know, the more variety that you have in the type of line that you put down there, the easier you're going to find, you know, making this work for you, okay? So I'm going to send this image to everybody. And, you know, everybody can kind of take their shot at it. And we'll see what we come up with. You know, when you do these, again, you know, we'll talk about them next Friday, like we did this morning. And we'll see what we, you know, what we end up with, okay? Anybody got any questions about that?
Can you send me one too, please?
Yeah, I'll send you one. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna try to send out that email this afternoon, and so I'll include you on the list. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. I wasn't there from the beginning. Thanks.
Pardon?
I wasn't at the beginning of the classes, so
Oh,
it may not be on your list.
okay. Yeah. So each week, I'm gonna try to come up with something to keep your brain occupied. Okay. So so I'll be sending those out. Like I said, I'll try this afternoon. If I don't get them all out this afternoon, then sometime over the weekend you'll get it. But you'll definitely have it by Monday, and then we can start on this. Okay.
Okay.
Again, I would just do it in, you know, a monochromatic treatment. I wouldn't try to paint it in color or anything else. Concentrate on working with value, line quality. You know, try to get the proportions and the movement, you know, of the pose. Okay. And also, you know, pay attention to the lighting. If you want to make it more dramatic, say the way that Degas did, where there's a stronger light coming from underneath her, you know, you could use Degas' painting again as a reference source for where you want to place those lights and darks, you know, on her figure. Okay. All right.
Thailand.
All right. Hey, Avital.
Hey.
All right. Is there anybody? Whoa. Okay. Okay.
Claudio's picture.
I've lost something. There you go. Okay. Is there anybody here who does not have my email address at this point?
I don't think so.
I
Avital?
don't have your email address because I just managed to get the link to the workshop this week.
Okay. Okay. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you. I love it. I think I missed out all the last few weeks classes.
Yeah, it's been a couple of weeks now. Okay, so let me share. Let me put up my email address, and you can either take a screenshot of it, or let's see, there it is. Yeah. All right. Can everybody see that?
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. So again, you know, if you just take a screenshot of it, write it down, whatever you need to do, and you can send me an email, but I'll be trying to send you an email as well if I have your email address.
Okay, I got it.
You got
Thank
it?
you. I'll send you an email on my address, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. And then I'll reply to it. Okay.
Thank
Good.
you.
Well, I'm glad we got that out of the way. And Avital, you got it?
Yes, yes, I did.
Okay. Good. All right. Now we got a few more minutes here. We got about 5 minutes, and I want to show you. I'm still working on a piece. And this kind of relates to John and any of you who do watercolor at this stage. But it's going to end up as an oil paint in the end. This is just kind of a working process, okay? And so, let's see, let's share that. Okay, now this is a piece that, I'm currently working on. And what you're seeing right now is you're seeing the thumbnails. Okay? And these were my just initial ideas. And we kind of talked about that, where rather than jumping in and starting to do like real detailed drawings and things like that, a lot of times it's just a good idea to come up with a composition, an idea. Before you work with a model or set up a still life, or even like really settle down if you're going outdoors and painting a landscape, just do a couple of little sketches, see how much you want to include of that landscape, and how you can kind of compose it in an interesting way. So after I did the thumbnails, then the next stage was, I did a little larger and a little bit tighter drawing, okay? And in this case, I actually had a model, sitting, in this room on the couch. And I kind of determined through my thumbnails that I really kind of wanted to work, because of the pose, with a really elongated composition. So it's more horizontal than it is vertical, right? And then from there, I went to the next step and I did a series of just little color rough studies. And again, the size of these, they're probably about 8 inches wide, from here to there. So they're not real big and you can do them pretty quick. And again, I'm not trying to get any real amount of detail or anything in them. I'm just kind of studying value of color and how I'm kind of composing it. So, once I got down to a solution for color, then I moved into a drawing. Now, this is the base of the final watercolor. Now, normally with watercolor, you don't do a fully rendered drawing, right? But in this particular case, I wanted to keep the drawing as part of the final painting. And so I did a pretty extensive drawing, and got it. And this is actually on a piece of probably about 140-pound watercolor paper. And where I've gone from there, and again, this is the very same, this is that drawing that you were just looking at, but now it's got color added to it. Okay. And so where I've got to go from here is I'm still working on darkening, particularly like this really left-hand side of the painting. I'm trying to build up those darks and get more and more of that effect of the light source really coming from that candle. Okay.
Now this is oil?
No, this is watercolor.
Still the watercolor, okay.
Right. Yeah, this is all watercolor right now. And now this, the dimensions of this are 20 inches wide by 10 high, okay? So this is basically the same, probably the same size as I'll actually end up doing the oil paint. Okay. Now, I may end up doing the oil painting larger. I may want to go up again about half. It just depends on how excited I am about doing it. If I'm really excited about it and I want to spend a long time really working on the painting, then I'll do it larger. If I want to move through it fairly quickly, I'll do a smaller piece. Less area, things seem to go faster. Okay. So that's kind of where I'm at right now, and that's kind of the process. Anybody got any questions about any of that?